Warning, the following episode of the Blackwell podcast contains spoilers from all episodes of Life is Strange.
Hello and welcome to the Blackwell podcast, where we love Life is Strange almost as much as Chloe loves to disappoint her parents. I'm Zach, and I'm with Joey.
Hello.
And Jamie.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
My face hurts from face palming from that.
So today we're here to talk about probably what could become the most convoluted and nonsensical episode, where we just talk about time travel.
Yep.
I guess.
We're hitting all the quantums here. We're time travel, timelines, time.
What is it?
As a concept, time. What is time? That's our first question.
Yeah. So we know that Life is Strange deals with time travel, and Max has the ability to somewhat control time. She can rewind by, Jamie, I believe you said it was 20 seconds?
20 seconds, yeah. I went back to play Life is Strange over the past week, and thankfully they have a clock in Jefferson's classroom, so basically you can just take a note on where the clock hits, and then rewind to find Max's limit, which is 20 seconds.
Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering how you would come up with that number.
Yeah, thanks to Alejandro for actually leaving it in the game.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
That is it's a nice little detail to find. So we also should talk about kind of the did this happen, did it not happen, the Schrodinger's theory as well.
All the Schrodingers.
Yeah.
So there's a few ideas of how the overarching universe of Life is Strange works. One is that for every time Max makes a decision, man, I was trying really hard to go a fucking full sentence without saying every time
You'll get it one day.
Every time Max makes a decision, it creates branching timelines, which is kind of the infinite possibility theory, the infinite timeline theory, infinite universe. It has a few different names, a few different deviations of the whole thing.
Infinite names.
Yeah. Every time you try to name it, another universe is created.
You create a new reality.
There's also the idea that it's one concise timeline that keeps getting changed every time Max does something.
And I guess in that world, it would be that Max is the only one who's
Affected.
conscious to the change.
Yeah. Right.
Everybody else, it's like their life is retroactively altered, so it's always been that way for them.
Which is an interesting thing to think about in thinking about time travel in general, and just how, like, if you go back and change something, how it just changes the paradigm of the person. If you're the only one aware, it changes the paradigm, and it's just, they just assume that it's always been that way because that's like what their memories have been replaced with. So it's really, really interesting.
Like,
Time travel gets really weird.
kind of like,
Go ahead.
I guess we'll talk about this in a little bit, with Max photo jumping, that she's kind of replacing a younger version of herself.
Yeah, I think it's cool that Max's power. I think if you compare it to like other time travel mediums or other representations of time travel, I think Max is kind of cool in that she can only like alter her own past, but I mean, of course, she can alter other people's pasts, but she can only do it from like her own shoes.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Right.
There isn't really. I can't think of another another form of media that did time travel that way.
The butterfly
I think
effect?
it was mostly, it's just like... Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, butterfly... How did I skim over that? Yeah. Butterfly effect does do it that way. He only steps back into his own shoes.
Food.
Butterfly effect
General
has that
punches.
really glaring... like loophole in it, though. I don't know if you guys know about that.
I do not.
I don't know. There's one part where he goes to prison. I can't even remember why. And he's trying to escape, and he's trying to convince his cellmate to let him out, to like help him. And so he lies to his cellmate, and because his cellmate's like super religious, and I think he tells his cellmate that he's like the Messiah or like Jesus or something. I can't remember what he tells him, but of course the cellmate doesn't believe him. So he goes back in time, and he goes back in time to when he's like a kid in a classroom, and he stabs his hands, the palms of his hands. He like impales these things through them. It's like one of these like paper spikes. I don't know what to call one of those things, but he like impales them through his hands, and then he cuts back to the modern day, and now he has these scars, like as if he's been nailed to the cross on the palms of his hands.
Stigmatic.
And and it's supposed to convince the guy. But if that were the case, if he's altered his past in such a way, then that means he should have always had those. They wouldn't have just suddenly appeared.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been there from the beginning, and so the cellmate just should have been like, yeah, you've always had those. Like, you walked in with those. Nothing's changed. That was a weird, like, mess up to somehow get on, like, a movie that's otherwise, I think, the time travel's makes sense otherwise.
Right.
I know Looper has a similar, if anybody's seen the film Looper, has a similar time travel mechanic in that, but I think in Looper...
Looper's explanation is, I could sit here and tell you how this time travel works, but neither of us have time for that, so don't even ask about it, and I loved that.
Thanks for pulling a Destiny on us there. I don't even have time to explain to you why I don't have the time. So, Looper's weird in that, like, it's like that one scene in Butterfly Effect where as you change something, it instantly changes the future. Like, it doesn't like change it as if it was always like that. It's like the future immediately changes. It's weird. Looper's time travel is weird. I also think in Looper, do you go back into your old person's body, or are you like a separate person, like
if you go
Terminator style?
So Bruce Willis comes back, and spoilers for Looper. Bruce Willis comes back as himself to stop what is about to happen with Joseph Gordon-Levitt Willis.
Yeah,
and
Joseph Gordon-Willis.
And so usually what happens is when they like terminate the Looper contract, they'll send him back, and you won't even know that it's your future self that you're killing.
Right.
So, but because Bruce Willis didn't die, he like knows everything that happens, like everything about it. But then, the ending of it kind of, because Joseph Gordon-Levitt kills himself, it then makes Bruce Willis disappear altogether, and that's like how it ends.
Yeah.
So I guess it is one of those things where, like, if you affect the past, it does change the future type thing.
Immediately.
Right, immediately.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like, it should have been like, if he shot himself, then there shouldn't have ever been a future version of himself in the first place. Like,
it's like a huge paradox.
Shouldn't have ever existed. Yeah, it's weird. I've always just shrugged it off and saying that's just the way that Loopers decided to, have their time travel work.
Mm-hmm.
There's like other media where they kind of say like older and younger versions of themselves meet, that because the timeline isn't in sync, the older whilst the experience is happening, the older older individual won't remember it. Like, won't have any memories of that instant happening, because I remember it happened in the Justice League cartoon, for example.
What, did Flash go back or something?
The Justice League went to the future.
Oh, okay.
So what you're saying is, like, when they went to the future themselves didn't retain any memory of their past selves coming back, or their past selves didn't retain any memory of going to the future?
The past versions didn't retain memories of that experience, meaning the older versions didn't remember that experience happening.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, but it makes sense in a weird time travel logic way.
But this is the time travel episode.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in Back to the Future, you have where it's going to, like, rip a hole in the space-time continuum.
Right, because there's multiple Marty McFlys and multiple Docs running around.
Right, and
I
if
really
they
wanna
see
play
each
that.
other...
Hang on, there's at least 3 in 1955 at one point, right?
Yeah, this should be, yeah. There's the, well, three what? It's 3 Docs or 3 Martys?
3 Docs.
Yeah, there should be. There's the future.
Yep.
Doc, the actual, like,
1955
Doc, and then there's
The 1885 remains.
which is actually the present Doc. Yeah, it's weird.
Same with
Back to the Future.
Same with Marty's too, because you have, well, I guess there's 2 Martys.
Yeah.
You have the one that goes
Yeah.
back to the future, and then you have the one that goes back to the future to stop Biff from getting
Almanac.
the almanac.
Man, I love Back to the Future. It's so good.
PS2 or Back to the Future 2. Don't gamble, kids.
So, I guess the most, like, succinct and easiest to rationalize way of handling time travel is the way that Life is Strange has kind of done it with the photo jumping. Is where, going back to our original point, Max has to change the past from her own body. So, like, she has to save William by doing the actions of saving William. It's not like she can go back as 18-year-old Max to the past to make something happen so that William doesn't die. Like, she can only go back to her past self with her knowledge retained.
And the
Right.
and the thing is, Max doesn't have to be fully aware in that image, because in episode 5 she goes back for a photo that Jefferson took where she was completely almost completely unconscious.
Right.
So basically, it doesn't matter if she's awake or more or less awake or not. She can still go back to that point.
Right. It's kind of like the photo of her captures that time frame of her that she can jump back to.
Yeah, it's more like Max isn't in most like time travel forms, like Back to the Future and even Looper. You're sending, like, your entire self back in time, like your body and everything.
Mhm.
But Max only sends back her consciousness, and so she just sends back, like, her mind into the body of whatever snapshot whatever window into the past she's using, which is pretty cool. She's only sending back her mental self, not her whole body.
Right. And I think going that route makes the time travel a lot more allegorical and a lot more... it plays it better into the whole concept of the game, especially going back to the original title, What If, before it was changed to Life is Strange, where, you kind of have these things that you look back on, you maybe have photos of them, you have memories of them that went good or went bad, especially the bad things, and you think, what would happen? Could I change this to make it so that it had a better outcome, so that it wouldn't affect everybody so negatively like it did? But then, of course, because of the butterfly effect, because of the butterfly chaos.
The chaos butterfly.
Coming soon.
Sonic 18 and the Chaos Butterflies.
It does sound like a Sonic character, yeah.
because of that, it of course isn't so simple as just going back and changing something and everything being good.
Right. There's unforeseen, possibly, like, incredibly massive changes that can occur from something that could even be really minor.
Yeah.
Right. And it really plays into the whole uncertainty of life. And really, I mean, it does. And I think that it does such a great job of both being a great example of chaos theory and time travel, which I guess is like my point that I'm trying to make, is that like you change one thing and it has catastrophic effects on something else, and it's fun to think about that in real life terms, thinking about how like if I like run a red light or something, how like that could affect something down the line because of just it putting me in a different place at a different time than had I just like slowed down and not run a red light. By the way, I don't run red lights, so
have you ever run a red light?
Don't start adding me about obeying traffic laws because I won't have it. But I'm using that as an example. And you think about like the people, it's very, very seldom that it happens, but there's actually like videos of it happening. You think of the people and how unfortunate it is. They're out riding their bike or taking a stroll and a fucking tree falls on them and kills them. And how if they were like 2 seconds later to the park, they like maybe could have jumped out of the way in time. They would have seen it. They wouldn't have been in the exact place they needed to be for that tree to fall on them. Or if they had been, 30 seconds later or 30 seconds sooner to the park. Well, the opposite of whichever I just said. I can't remember if I said sooner or later. But the opposite of that. If they had been there, just at any small, minute amount of time difference, how they wouldn't have gotten hit and killed by a tree. And it's nuts to think about that. Just like the uncertainty of everything.
That actually,
and it's weird, but I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
Where like, but the stupid thing is I'm totally blanking on what it was. I can't remember what my like near death experience was.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a situation where if I had been 2 seconds later, or like just a few seconds later, I probably would have died.
Hmm.
But I don't remember. I'm just totally blanking on what it was. I'll have to remember.
I remember exactly, like really vividly about and one that I had. It was New Year's Day around 2005 because I like got like a toy from Toys R Us of like Dash from The Incredibles, and we were on the way home, and a tree just fell right on top of the front of the car.
That's nuts, yeah.
And
yeah, so if your car had been just a little faster, yeah, it would have landed like on top of the cab and not on the hood.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's insane. Go ahead with what you were going to say.
But yeah, that was just crazy.
And
yeah, I'm blanking. I mean, I'm trying really hard to remember what it was that happened to me.
You'll probably remember like in like a week from now.
I will.
And
If I remember, I'll tweet it out.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's what happens to Chloe, because we change William's past and we make it so that William survives by hiding his keys. So he takes the bus. That means that Chloe ends up getting the car. And Chloe gets in the accident that paralyzes her.
Right.
And
hers was like much, much further down the line, but it's the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's kind of like a ripple, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's kind of like echoes just forward, and then it just kind of hits at like a random time when you least expect it.
Which, there's also like a lot of like, I think it's called wave theory or something.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't be eating an M&M, like the crunchiest snack while I'm doing a podcast, but we're casual here, I like to hang out, have a good time.
Just hanging out, eating M&Ms. Join us.
Whilst listening to M&M.
I think, and I'm not 100% sure if this is actually what it is, but I think wave theory kind of plays on that it's time actually operates as a wave. And sending vibrations and stuff, but I'm not. I could be completely wrong altogether what that even is.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that, so I
think I've heard of it. It kind of like
confirm or deny.
It can go backwards as well, I guess. If time travel is possible, it kind of affecting the past will also affect further back as well at a point. So it could change things in the past. Like, if you change something 5 years ago, it could change something from 10 years ago as well.
I was about to, because of what you said, when you said that time is like, you could go forward and back, it reminded me of a movie, and I was about to recommend that movie, but if I recommended it, it would give away that movie involves time travel, which isn't revealed until like the end of the film, and so it would ruin the whole movie. No. So I'm not going to recommend that movie, but I want to. It's a really good movie. I will recommend a movie while we're on the subject of time travel, which I guess is this whole podcast, but a really good time travel film is a movie called Primer, and it's
my favorite paint.
It's been on Netflix a few times. I think it's on Netflix.
I think it still is.
But yeah, it goes on in it, and they remove it and they put it back on. It's really good, and it's a very, very good time travel movie. You're probably gonna have to watch it 2 or 3 times.
I was about to say,
really grasp everything that happens, but it is a cool movie. It's very cool.
It's one of those. I need to go back. I still need to watch it a couple of times because
I know, me too.
It's such a like mind fuck of a movie, and every time you think you start having a grasp on what's happening, it's like you notice something else that kind of changes the paradigm, and so you have to like, well, shit, now I got to think of this from a completely different way. But it is really good.
Yeah, it is a hard movie to follow, but it is like so cool once you're able to like grasp it, and it's awesome. Another really good one is I think it's a French film called Time Crimes.
Oh man, I love that movie.
That movie's awesome.
Yeah,
that movie's really good. That's a good time travel film too.
Those
are always the 2 I recommend.
Los Cronos
Time Crimes and Primer. Yeah, those movies are great.
Anyway,
back to
what
this podcast is about.
Yeah, let's try and we should probably try and stick onto Life is Strange time travel mechanics as a whole. Well, otherwise, we could just be recommending like time travel media like constantly.
Right. Well, I think it plays kind of hand in hand because no work is underderivative of other works, and all ideas are shared and inspired upon. But it's interesting the amalgamation of time travel theories that is put into place in Life is Strange. That it kind of borrows from a lot of different places while still like managing to have its own mechanics that sort of make it unique. And so it's kind of, when you start thinking about, especially because there's no hard canon about how the time travel works, and I'm actually thankful for that. I'm actually glad, because I feel like when you start trying to delve into the science fiction side of it, you can go a bit awry, because it's very easy when you start tinkering around with time travel to create loopholes that otherwise, if you just make it sort of this like metaphysical thing, this like crazy power that you get, I won't say it's like the lazy way out, because that is like absolutely not what I'm trying to say, but it makes it easier. It makes it simpler to deal with time travel, which makes it more enjoyable, I think. Not that I don't enjoy like hard science fiction and stuff like that, but when you have time travel,
I definitely, at least for Life is Strange, I agree with you that like kind of leaving a lot of it up in the air was like definitely the better way to go.
Yeah. And it also goes back to, I've talked about it before, there's very few moments where there's divine irony in the game where we like don't know, or where we know something that Max doesn't know. There's very few there's very few, you can count on one hand the times that it happens, and everything else is seen through Max's own eyes. We learn about this as Max learns about it. So the fact that we don't know about it is because Max doesn't know about it, doesn't understand the origin of her powers, and she's trying to figure it out. You know, we have the scene where she's got her desk completely covered in all these time travel things, and where she's been up all night like studying it and
like emailing Warren asking for advice on like his theories and stuff and all that stuff regarding the research kind of thing from between episode 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Right.
And she wakes up in her dorm in episode 2, and like her walls plastered with sticky notes and stuff.
Yeah.
There's also the idea, and Life is Strange doesn't follow it too much, but you could argue that maybe it does, is the idea that time is more of like a crystalline structure, and that we only see it as from point A to point B because we have no agency in time. We are just merely products of time, which you start getting into like extra dimensional theories there, which I believe time is the 4th or 5th dimension.
I wouldn't know. If it's the 5th, what's the 4th?
Well, I think like the concept of space.
Oh, okay.
Not like outer space, but space is in like placement.
Yeah.
And then you have time. And so there's the idea that time is almost like a loop. And everything, there's the idea, and this is kind of hit on in Slaughterhouse 5 by Vonnegut, that time is not so much a thing that time is like pre-described, and being a being of the 4th or 5th dimension, whichever, I want to say 4th. But anyway, being a being of that dimension, you actually see time as though it were laid out in front of you. How we see 2D images because we're third-dimensional we're third-dimensional beings.
Right.
A 4th dimensional or 5th dimensional being would see time laid out much in the same way that we see a 2-dimensional object laid out in front of us. So they could actually point on a timeline something that might have happened millions of years ago, and it would be the same to them as like pointing to something that happens years in the future.
Like stepping into like a new era would just be like walking across the street for us.
Okay,
right.
So I just did a little bit of research, and the 4th dimension is time, and the 5th is space.
Oh, okay.
Whilst the others are space, are like length, width, and height, apparently?
So third is like depth, I believe. Like third adds depth. Third dimension adds depth. Mm-hmm. I'm sure this loses a lot of people because it is so convoluted and difficult to think about. And the only reason that I'm even able to probably erroneously speak so candidly about it is just because I spend hours of time not sleeping but thinking about this. Fucking
the irony.
I'm Charlie in the mailroom with theories.
With like the
Pepe Silvia.
But Life is Strange kind of, you could maybe argue that Life is Strange has some of that, in that it kind of plays into alternate timelines. If you do look at time that way. If you can look at time that way. But I believe what mostly it goes for is either altering a single timeline or creating divergent timelines. And I think the consensus is divergent timelines, because that's kind of the Donnie Darko.
Yeah, that's the one that I like accept as my like canon for what happened.
Sorry,
what? Go ahead.
I was going to say that with every action that Max makes, there'll be 2 timelines going parallel to each other.
Right, or possibly even 3. Like whenever at the end of episode 3, when she has to put the blame on someone in the principal's office, there's 3 choices there. So
wasn't that 2?
3 whole timeline. No, because you can blame Jefferson.
I know, wasn't that episode 2? Because that's like right after Kate.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
My bad. Right, yeah, you can blame Jefferson, Madsen, or Nathan, and so that's 3 different realities, like, spring out from that moment, and you as the player just see whichever one you decide to go with, but they all exist. So I guess you could think of it as...
the Christian divine theory.
Another way to think of it is that Max creates a new reality every time she makes a different choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, like, what's like the first choice you're faced with? It's whether or not to snitch on Nathan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Up until that point, there's one timeline. Even though she treads back, even though she goes back in time, I guess technically you as the player don't make a choice there, but she does. So I guess that's the real like first Divergent timeline. Whenever Max decides to save Chloe, she doesn't know it's Chloe yet, but save this girl in the bathroom. At that point, there's two realities. There's two different ways to see this. Either there's two realities that are created in that moment, one where Chloe is not saved, and one where Chloe is saved, and you just see the one where Max saves her. Or those two realities were always going to exist anyway, and you just go to whichever one, obviously the one where Chloe is saved, because that's the one Max does. So, it's either, I think the way to either think about it, in this case, is either a new timeline is created every time she changes her mind or alters a choice, or the timeline isn't created, it's always been there, it always will be there, but she just she switches between timelines by changing her mind and, like, changing choices.
Right.
What would happen if she kind of rewinds time and goes the other path?
What do you mean?
I think, it's either, both are created, or, like I just said, she either makes a new one or she steps back into the old one. She just, if you think about it as a road, and every time you make a choice, there's a fork in the road, and, you can go to either way, left or right. And each of those is a valid choice. You can either think of it like that, in that there's separate roads, and every choice is a fork in the road, meaning that every time she makes a choice, she creates a new reality. Or you think about it as in one massive multi-lane road, where all roads already exist, and Max is only changing lanes.
Right.
She's not creating new ones. New ones aren't being made. They were already there. She's just moving between them.
And
if that makes sense.
Right. And that kind of, I guess that's kind of like where the deviation between the idea that time is already pre-described, versus the infinite universe, infinite reality theory, which, to put it bleakly, the easiest way that I've heard infinite theory described is, assume you were playing Russian roulette. You have one reality where you hit the bullet, and you have 5 others where you don't, and each of those 5 can be somewhat different. And it's like every time a choice is made, it spawns a different one, which goes into, like, I don't know, you can have these like crazy webs of possibilities. But yeah, the divine theory, as I will coin it, of Christian divine, is that both endings exist, and therefore both canon.
Right.
Which is the Schrodinger's cat of Life is Strange.
I mean, I think that's probably the best way to describe it, because I think that does follow maybe the spirit of the game, is that, it all does exist, and it all does happen. It's just, which one do you, as the player, or as Max, decide to put yourself in,
Right.
Which is the one you want to call home, but they're all there.
And it's interesting, too, that there's not an actual perfect loop. Even if you choose to sacrifice Chloe and you go back through the picture, you don't create a perfect loop of what happens with Chloe originally getting shot, because it's predicated on Max knowing and making the choice to let Chloe get shot, as opposed to what happens in episode 1, it's where you don't know it's Chloe, you just know someone's gotten shot, and you pull the fire alarm before it happens.
Right.
So it's even arguably a different timeline than the original timeline that you start on, because you've made a different choice. Max doesn't initially sit down and like start crying.
Right. Like every little alteration is like is a whole different reality, and there are like hundreds of other realities. If you think about the game like in a more realistic way, that if it wasn't just a game where you are limited by what the game offers you to do, there are a million other possible realities that are created. There's realities where Max tries to save Chloe without pulling the fire alarm and goes about it a different way.
So, since we're kind of on that scene, there's two kind of points that I kind of want to bring up. The first one is, since we know that when Max photo jumps into an image, she'll kind of be like pushed back forward into that time, like into present day. So just imagine Max, like idle Max, let's just call her, where she's kind of on autopilot. Just she's in the bathroom, she's on the floor, she realizes she's just been crying, she has no idea why, and she turns around the corner. I honestly feel like that would fucking suck.
Yeah. It's the whole. I think that's one part that's pretty cool about Life is Strange, and it's probably one of the parts I would like to hear more, like explained, like demystified a little bit. Is like, what is up with like autopilot Max? Like, she obviously doesn't remember anything. Whenever she steps back into that body, she doesn't remember anything that like autopilot Max does.
Oh, it reminds me of an Adam Sandler movie.
Oh god.
It reminds me of Click.
Yeah, right. Sure. Right. Man, I've never thought of Click as a time travel movie, but it absolutely is.
I've never seen Click.
It's not bad.
It's an okay Adam Sandler.
As far as Adam Sandler movies go, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a low bar, so it's not hard to make an okay one.
I should probably explain what I mean by Click. So, spoilers for Click, which I'm not sure anyone would really care about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Adam Sandler has a universal remote that can control his life, and he got into a habit of using the fast forward a little bit too often. So it basically had like a friendly feature where it'll reset, like it'll fast forward at that time. So like he'll fast forward like a couple of years ahead of his life, and he will have no memory of what happened that year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was basically like the remote remembers like if he fast forwards through like his morning commute every day, that it'll just like automatically do it for him. And so he kind of overdoes it a bit, and so he goes through like the cycle of the remote like automatically fast forwarding through a lot of things for him, and so he just kind of jumps forward like a bunch of years, and he has like just like autopilot Max, like Jamie's saying, he clicks back into it, and he has no idea what's happened in the past few years. Just like autopilot Max has no idea what has happened since she's like made her changes to the world.
Right.
And so like it's like him that's like the latter half of the film is like him like figuring out like how everything's changed.
So,
which I think that would have been a pretty cool scene in Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Like if you go back and you make a choice, and then whenever you come back into it, like nobody's there to explain it to you. Because there is the one moment in episode 5 when she does that, and Max changes a bunch of stuff, but whenever she snaps back into it, Chloe's there, and Chloe just explains everything to her. But it would have been kind of cool to like not have somebody there to explain it to you, and then you as the player and Max have to like go and like figure out like what has happened.
Kind of like with episode 3,
what's
right?
Changed. In what part?
When she saves William.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. Whenever, she goes to the house, and she has no idea like what's been altered.
I hope you guys don't mind if I bring another point regarding episode 5 and the sacrifice Chloe ending.
What's up?
Sure.
So since Chloe getting shot and Max rewinding into that moment kind of triggers her time travel powers, right? Since Chloe gets shot and Max kind of has to force it, like, upon it, does that mean Max's time travel powers get taken away after she gets pushed in the present day? Like, what do you guys think?
So, that goes back to the origin of Max's powers, I guess, which is another thing that was purposely
Left vague.
unexplained because, again, I think it plays into the like allegorical sense of what the time travel is as a mechanic. And so if we assume that it's like some latent ability that Max had that was just realized by the fate of Chloe, essentially, then we can assume that perhaps it just goes dormant again, or that maybe she's aware of it, she just will not use it. Or if it was a power that was like mystically given to her through the course of events of like the Blue Butterfly, Arcadia Bay, like whatever you believe might have been the root of Max's powers. Personally, I think that she probably still has them at the end, either ending, but it's one of those things where she won't use them because she knows the potential for destruction that it has, like the not even potential, the probability.
Yeah, I've always, I don't know, I've always thought that the ending where the sacrifice Chloe ending, for some reason I've always assumed that her powers went away. I don't know why I've always thought that. I guess because one of the big theories that I've always heard is that her powers are like granted to her for, one last week with Chloe. And so when she decides to, after she experiences that week and then she decides to, give it up and let time go back into its, supposed natural state, then her powers aren't given to her in that world. But yeah, I definitely always assumed that in the world, in Sacrifice Arcadia Bay ending, that she does keep her powers, and that her and Chloe just leave, and then I guess Max, never uses them, in fear of possibly destroying wherever else they go on to.
Right. I guess too, if you look at it, you realize your powers with the onset of the Blue Butterfly, and then the Blue Butterfly flies off at the end of Sacrifice Chloe, so you could almost say that's like the responsibilities, I guess, or I don't know, the weight of it being lifted, like the blue oh my god, the Blue Butterfly being the harbinger of it, and likewise being the one who kind of like carries it away, the Hermes of the powers.
Or even the butterfly was there just to give Max a time travel ability, so she could have a little bit more time with Chloe before Chloe gets shot. And then, as you said, when the butterfly flies away, it's kind of like it's done its job and it's gone away.
Which would be interesting if in 2, I know they're probably going to use a different mechanic than time travel. But it would be interesting if we see that Blue Butterfly somewhere. Maybe something crazy is happening and we see a glimpse of a Blue Butterfly. But I doubt they'll canonize the time travel that in that way. I had some point I wanted to make, but now I can't remember it, so maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah, I've always thought that was really interesting too. If they decide to, because people always talk about how in a season 2 they would like to have some mention of Chloe or Max, just a slight nod. But
and don't nod.
I've always thought it would be cool if they just acknowledged something like that, like the Blue Butterfly or the doe, or even bring back some other imagery, like the vortex and stuff like that.
Right.
Or the hole to another universe.
Yeah, some kind of weird
homage to season 1. Like the people who played season 1 will get it, but newcomers will going, "Oh, that's kind of interesting."
I just want some weird cosmic shit going on, that they're these weird threads that seem very minor, but for some reason are interconnecting everything. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to see in what direction they'll take too. We know it's going to be different characters than Max and Chloe, but we'll see if it has any sort of throwback to it. I feel like this is a conversation that like Max and Chloe have left Arcadia Bay. Chloe takes a huge bong rip. Like, Max, let's talk about your time powers, Max.
Like, let's go. Let's try and work it out together.
It's very much a conversation I could see them having.
I'm trying to think of like what else we can really talk about without like going into like more referential stuff, but we kind of have to, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, go for it, Joe.
Well, I was just saying, I mean, like, we do in the sense that our knowledge of the time travel mechanic in Life is Strange is the exact same as Warren's or Max's or Chloe's for that matter, in that they only know it takes place in a universe that everything that we know as of 2013 would also be information that they had access to. So, I mean, that's why you have Warren and Max making Doctor Who references, talking about, you know, that type of thing. So I don't think it's off the mark to reference it to other things, because it's exactly what they did in order to try to figure out exactly what these time powers were, and they never really come to a concise answer, just as we won't be able to, which I think is a whole new interesting depth to the game.
I've just realized there's one part of the time powers that we kind of haven't touched on at all, because it only happened once.
Stop time?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. You know, whenever going into those episodes, I thought it would be that, I thought that, like, every episode Max would discover, like, a new facet of her power, some new ability. And so I thought, you know, the basic rewind would be episode 1, and then episode 2 came out, and she was able to stop time, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a cool thing to play with.
Then with episode 3 was the photo jump.
Right, yeah, but she never really, like, discovers any new parts of it outside of that. Things definitely get weirder with, like, the nightmare and stuff, but that's not really, like, a detail of her power. Yeah. The time stop was, like, I don't know. I almost feel like the time stop was I can't think of a better word to describe it other than, like, a glitch. Like, her power was, like, malfunctioning almost, because she was trying to reverse time to save Kate, but she was exhausted, or it was like too much of a strain on her, and so I guess all she could do was stop time.
Right.
I guess maybe the idea is that Max could always stop time, she just never has a need for it, but she probably would have a need for it. Maybe she can't just always stop time.
I feel like it would be a last resort if she could use it.
And well, here's the thing, too, about the time stop, is like you were saying, Zach, it is triggered by the fact that you're trying to rewind time, but you can only rewind time by 20 seconds. So you can only... you only trigger the time stop by constantly trying to rewind time, like, as a player. And then it's just, like, it's too much, because it's, like, such a dire thing that Max is trying to do, and it's too much for her ability to control her powers, that it does seem like a very, like Neo being dogpiled on by multiple agents and then throwing them off. Like, it seems like a very, like, something she wasn't even trying to do. It just happened because she was so, like, what's the word?
Like, determined.
Yeah, and, like, just freaking out so much. So, yeah, like, maybe not a glitch, but maybe not something that she can actively control. It just happens in extremely dire circumstances. And she never had such a dire circumstance come up again in which to use it, because you could say, well, you know, why couldn't she use it to change something about Chloe and Nathan in the bathroom? And it's because, like, that there were other ways to get around that. There are other ways to solve that issue, including by just rewinding 20 seconds, breaking the glass, and pulling the fire alarm before Nathan shoots Chloe. But with Kate, there's absolutely no other way to stop that from happening.
Yeah, there's no time for her to reach the rooftop just with her, like, 20 seconds of rewind.
Right.
Even when Max moves location when she rewinds.
Right. And I'm wondering too if it isn't something with her rewind power that unless it is like this time stop that she's done. But then, of course, we see the consequences of that is after the time, like she finally makes it up to the roof, but then she can't use her time powers anymore while she's up there.
She's kind of like overloaded.
I think that like her time travel abilities is more like a muscle, and with the time stop, it kind of she sprained her muscle, so she kind of has to like rest. Like she can't use like the rewind anymore for a while, which she wasn't able to. Until I'm trying to think, like give a rough time frame when she was in Principal Wells's office. Mm-hmm. I'll say about 25 minutes ish.
No, I think it's been longer. I think it's been a few hours at that point. Oh wait, in Principal Wells's office. Never mind.
25 minutes to an hour, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's probably pretty soon after that.
Yeah.
I'd say probably within an hour, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like any clues. I would have to like be actively playing it. I'm sure I could find something to give an idea of the time difference. But I mean, we know that Kate jumping, or what springs that whole course of action, happens in the morning, because Max is in Jefferson's class. We know it's raining, but then we see that evening at the end of episode 2, the sun is setting, the clouds have cleared a bit. So I feel like there's probably some light clues, like actual lighting from outside coming through Principal Wells's office.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the lighting was like, and I want to say it might have been sunset, so it could have been like almost a whole day.
I imagine that it's probably post. Well, no, I guess because Max has to sign the affidavit stating that like what she says, so I guess that is the reporting, like the police report and stuff that's going on there. So it's, and for all we know, I mean, that whole thing, like the weather could have cleared up soon after we save Kate or don't save Kate.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, with the exception of the time stop, I'm wondering if the only ability of her rewind time happens in like the immediate area that she is, which...
Oh, what, like, if time continues forward, like, in the rest of the world?
Well...
I don't think that's the case, because then...
Oh, you mean, like, anything that Max affects can, like, only be in, like a 20-meter range, I guess?
Well, yeah, like, there's... So, not that it stops, not that, like, it's only in this, like, microcosm of an area that, Max controls the time and the time moves normally everywhere else, but that she can only, like, when she's using the time, I don't know, it's hard to describe what the question I'm trying to bring, I guess, is like, no one knows about the time rewinding, no one has any sort of memory, they're unaware of it, except for Max when you do rewind time, but the only things that she can affect are in the media. I mean, we know that she can only carry items, the only things that, like...
So you're wondering about, like, what her realm of influence is.
Right.
With, like how far she can go with her time travel power.
Right.
I guess, yeah, she doesn't really ever try. We don't really have, like, a moment where she ever really, like, tries to go far with it, so...
And maybe that's just a dumb question that doesn't even need to be asked, but...
I mean, it's interesting, but I definitely think there's... Well, yeah. You said that wasn't your question anyway. Was that like that time continues on whenever time continues on elsewhere?
Yeah, that wouldn't like that.
I'd say
that
no.
Wouldn't make any sense.
But no, yeah, I don't think that would.
But I guess what I'm wondering, the question is if she saw something happen on TV, maybe like, I don't know, in the next town over, and this is just pure hypothetical. If she saw something happen on TV, could she rewind 20 seconds and, like, if she knew the person, call that person and say, like, hey, don't do this or something, like something along those lines. I mean, that's obviously a very weak example, but I'm wondering just what area of influence, like, she could use. I don't know. Never mind. It's, I need to...
I think I actually had that thought in that, at the end, whenever there's that short stint in episode 5 where where Max, like, thinks everything is okay, and she's going to the art show and stuff with Principal Wells, and then, while she's there, she, like, gets the phone call from Chloe and stuff that, like, Arcadia Bay is being torn apart.
Right.
It could have been, like, that situation where you think, like, she could have rewound time, like, whenever she was, like, on the airplane or something, and, like, told Chloe to, like, get out of Arcadia Bay.
Right.
Which I always wondered why, in that part, Max just totally seems to forget about the storm. I guess she assumed that maybe the storm didn't happen, or wasn't going to happen at that point, but...
Yeah, I think maybe because of the point in time where that does happen, with her going to, is on the same Friday as where, like, episode 5 happens, or Thursday, yeah, Friday, and so when she changes, she goes back, it's kind of autopilot Max, and so maybe that's why there's no, like, idea that the storm is going to happen, is because, like, she's clicked into the timeline of where Max is on the plane. Because she kind of wakes up on the plane and then is like, oh, I'm going to San Francisco for the Zeitgeist Gallery with Wells.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why there was no thought of, like, hey, I wonder if the storm is still happening.
Arcadia Bay is being torn apart. Yeah.
But then we get the phone call from Chloe that says, Max, what the fuck? I'm dying. And
help, please.
And then, you have to go back through the selfie.
Right. That part of the game's really cool.
So there's something that I've kind of thought of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of relating to Max's jumping ability, I guess. Well, I say jumping, I use that very lightly. Is whenever she moves location, whenever she rewinds time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what would happen if you, like, you're, like, a bit forward of where you were originally, right? So would it look like you teleported?
Oh, you mean, like...
If you, like, she met there in an instant, like, across, like, from the dorms.
Well, she definitely doesn't move. I'm pretty sure it just looks like she disappears, because, I mean, you can do... The two best instances of that in the game is whenever you blow up Principal Wells' door,
right,
go on the other side, and then rewind time. She certainly didn't, like, move like the Flash, because then she would have just, like, smashed through the door, or, like, rammed through it.
Quantumly vibrated.
Yeah, she would have... I think she just vanishes. I think it's sort of like she alters the history in that, like, she's always been on that side of the door, which is just complicated, because, like, if she was always on that side of the door, then that couldn't be the case, because then, like, Principal Wells would have just, like, locked her in the office and just left her there. So, like, that it does get a little weird there. It's like she can bend... I guess it's that she bends the world around her without altering her place. So, that's why the door, is repaired and the alarm isn't going off and stuff. The same thing whenever you're going into the, whenever Chloe asks you what locker room you want to go into, you can go into one. You can answer her, say boys or girls, go into that one, and then you can rewind time to where the door was never opened, and then you can open it from the other side. And Chloe is like, oh, what a show off, and then she goes into whatever locker room you open the door of. Mm-hmm. So, I guess she just sort of teleports. I guess she would, like, disappear from Chloe's view. That would be a cool point in the game if you did that to, like, fuck with someone in the game and they were like, oh, where'd you go? Like, if you were just, like, teleporting around.
And also that brings up the point that, like, Max is literally the only person with recollection of the time change at all. Because Chloe has absolutely no recollection whatsoever. Right. Because it does rewind the time in the world. I guess you could say it rewinds the world.
Yeah. it rewinds. Her power affects everything besides her.
Yeah.
She can because even if you pick up something and have it on Max's person, then it doesn't leave her pockets when you rewind time, does it?
No. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Max can carry with her is anything she has on her person is what she can take back in time.
So it's almost like she can affect. It's like she has a little sphere of influence around her that isn't affected by rewinding time.
So it's almost like Max has control of the dimension itself of time, and she becomes a extra dimensional being.
She
can't even finish that without.
She's not a time traveler. She's a dimensional traveler.
Yeah. Which is interesting, but it's also kind of silly to put in words. But I mean, I guess that's
thinking about this game as a time travel game wrong all along.
But then again, that loops us back to what is time travel.
Exactly.
Man, we should. Oh man, we should find out a way. We should have figured out a way to
loop the entire episode.
Yeah, in this episode.
Oh man, and then and then act we should have a script.
Yeah, a beginning and ending script where we could have looped it.
And then just that's. I think I actually have listened to a podcast where they did that, and it was pretty cool.
But since we kind of went on a big loop, we should probably wrap up the talk regarding time travel.
Yes,
because
we have reached the end. We have reached the end of our spiral. Mm-hmm. Our noses are now bleeding.
Yeah, my head hurts.
We are holding our heads. The photo burn is affecting our peripheral vision.
Get that that burning photo vignette.
So yeah, what next, guys?
Well, why don't we take a trip to our gallery for our everyday heroes?
Alrighty.
Alright, so, with all this time travel talk and everything, I've completely lost my memory. We've rewound time so much that I have no idea. What is Everyday Heroes?
So Everyday Heroes is a segment that we have towards the end of the show where we highlight the content created in the community, whether it be cosplay, fan art, music, you name it. We'll probably feature on the show at some point. So, since this is your first Everyday Hero, Zach, why don't you start us off?
Oh boy, with mine? Yeah. So I found mine on Reddit, and it's by Robert Allen Whitaker on Instagram. And I thought it was pretty cool because it was a painting, which I'm sure people have done it, but I don't think I've seen very many of them, and I thought it looked pretty cool. I like that it's all in black and white, and it kind of has a whole, almost, I don't think it was intended, but it kind of reminds me of Jefferson's photos were all in black and white, and the whole chiaroscuro thing that's referenced a few times in the game. And I think it looks really cool, and of course it's a great moment at the end of the game.
So I guess technical things, got some good rule of thirds going on, some really good rule of thirds going on with placement of Max and Chloe, the tree, the tornado itself, and the details are really great on it with the cairn beside Max, and it really does, because it's not grayscaled that moment in the game, but it's very dark. It's very stormy, of course, because it's a storm.
Right.
And this really does capture the atmosphere and kind of the gloom of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it does. I think that is a big reason why I liked it. It does kind of fit the mood of that moment.
I'm just like blown away. I like the little details that they've included in, especially with the trunk of the tree, where they have like Max and like Chloe BFFs in the like, which is etched into the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good.
As well as the debris.
Right. The newspaper there.
Mm-hmm. As well as you can see the which way the different winds of the tornado are actually spinning. So yeah, it's really well done.
It's definitely something that like would look good even if you didn't know that it was from Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would look good as just something hanging on a wall, like a canvas painting hanging on a wall.
Yeah, with just like two people watching a storm. A very scary storm, but yeah, it would look pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right. So that is Robert Allen Whitaker. Jesus Christ, I cannot even, like, it's so easy.
Robert Allen Whitaker.
Robert Allen Whitaker. On Instagram. So thank you so much for letting us use that. And
yeah, thank you.
Make sure to check out their other work.
I think he said his Instagram is a little new, so I don't think there's much on there, but I'm sure he'll have some other cool stuff on there soon.
Sweet.
I chose Chloe Price by KTC on Tumblr. I really like the. I want to liken it to kind of like Sin City, but it's not really. It's not Sin City-esque other than the fact that it's just a single color, solid color background and the usage of the lines. With having like hard lines to show the outline of the hair and the face on the hair, but then like everything else having kind of like softer lines, and I think it adds a really interesting dynamic to the painting itself. It adds some interesting depth to it, in addition to like the shadows that are already on there, and the shadows are awesome. Like I've said it before, like I'm a huge fan of lighting in games and painting and art. Okay, good lord, I just can't talk. I think that's my problem.
You made it.
Okay.
I'll take a break after this.
And so you have the shadows of Chloe's necklace on the back of her neck. You have of the strap on her shoulder. And then the like strapping where the tank top has been kind of cut in the back there. And you have like the shadows on the back, and then also like the shadow of the hair on her face and her neck. I think that's really awesome, and I love usage of lighting in fan art and art in general.
I do really like the like you said. I think my favorite part of this is the heavy lines on her hair and like that frame her face. I think it looks really cool, and I think the heavy lines like contrasted to like how pale her face is really like pretty and really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I like it a lot. I like the hair.
I really love the emphasis on the tattoo.
Yeah.
Kind of since it's pretty fucking detailed, right? It kind of makes your eyes draw right to it. And I've just been looking at it constantly. It's really good. It's even got the detail on the vines, the flowers, the skull.
And I think like the softer, like it adds almost like a cell shading with the hard lines and the hair and all that. It makes it look like it adds, and then you have like the softer details and all that. Like you can make out the shoulder blades and Chloe's back, but it's done in like softer without lines. It's done with colors to differentiate, and it adds a really interesting look to it.
Yeah,
that I really like.
The expression as well is well done.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Chloe just saying, "What the fuck did you just say to me?"
So that is KTC, which, if you're listening, KTCEEE on Tumblr. And make sure to check out her other work, too. It's all really good. And thank you so much for letting me use that.
It's a great piece. Alright, wrap up Everyday Heroes with my piece, which it's called Chloe and Max by Zila Lala Anna on Tumblr.
Nice.
I was saying that over in my head constantly. Just saying, oh no. Just the style of this piece is so warm to look at. It makes me feel very happy. Because I just found it on the whim on DeviantArt when I was looking. So it's like, holy shit, I just want this. So it's actually my desktop background right now. Because there's so many things that are like, there's small details. Because there's the beans, the blue butterfly.
I just saw that.
As well as like Otter and Water, Otter and Beavers, like just right underneath the butterfly. You might be able to make it out. And this just seems like it's a picture that Max would take like on the whim, whilst like Chloe and Max are in the graveyard just having a great time.
The graveyard?
Graveyard, junkyard, sorry.
The car graveyard.
Sorry. Yeah, the car graveyard. My bad.
Don't get me wrong, graveyards are a great time. Sorry.
Anyway.
I really like this. I think it's really, I like how big their eyes are, and how, like, the size of their eyes and the way their hair is almost like tendrils, sort of. Gives it, like, a very, like, fairy-like fantasy quality to it. It's really pretty. I like it.
And I've just noticed with Max's hair, it kind of has, like, a little bit of blue on the tips and a little bit of, like, magenta where her roots are. It's kind of like Chloe has a little bit of influence on who Max is going to become.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that too. I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be lighting or if it was supposed to be her hair colored that way.
I think it's. But I'm sure. I think it's light. I think it is like shadowing, but it does still like add that quality to it. So maybe it was like, not a double entendre, but like it was intended to have that sort of effect on it. Because if you look where like the lighting is coming from, and it's golden hour lighting too, you can tell by like the hue of it. And the way that Max has her arm up, it's casting the shadow right above where Chloe's hand is, where her like arm is extending up to take the selfie, and then also like where she has her head kind of tilted. The rest of her hair and head is like shadowing the other. Well, I realize you can't see my cursor moving, but the left side, Max's right of her hair. But the usage of colors for the shadowing definitely does give it that very like Chloe-esque coloring. It's a very soft picture, not to be like Tumblr TM, but it is a very soft picture, and it's very, very pretty.
Yeah, it is. It's very pleasant to look at.
The eyelashes kind of look like small butterfly wings as well.
It does very much bring up that word you used, Jamie, which is warm. It is a very... Whereas the other ones mine's a little somber. Joey's is a little intense, I think. This one is very warm. We got a nice little range.
Because it makes you...
Here.
To me, it makes me feel good just looking at it, knowing that those two look happy at that moment.
Yeah.
God damn.
And also, I do like that it is like a styled, in that it's a physical photo on a cork board.
Yeah, that's a cool detail. The stickers decorating the edge. Yeah.
So, thank you, Zila Lana Anna on Tumblr, for letting me use that.
Zila Lanana.
Yeah. If you'd like to submit...
Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you'd like to submit your work to Everyday Heroes, you can email it to us at blackwellpodcast@hotmail.com. You can tweet it to us at blackwellpdcast. You can send it to the form through the form at lifeistrangefans.com/Blackwell podcast. Tumblr, you can message us there. DeviantArt, we're not really active, but if we do message you in the future, you'll see that account name in the inbox. That's all I can really think of, right? Regarding...
Did you say Instagram?
Oh yeah, and Instagram as well, at Blackwell Podcast. Sorry, forgot about that one.
So many links.
Yeah.
So you can find us on a bunch of different ways. Facebook, we've been saying that it will come soon. But, maybe we subscribe to the school of thought that time is not a definite thing.
Yeah.
And soon is, soon is subjective.
We'll have to travel further in time for that to actually happen.
We share Blizzard's opinion on soon, and it just kind of means someday.
Our Facebook page will be in the PTR soon.
Yeah.
Soon, TM.
So yeah, that's the Everyday Hero segment. So we should probably do some housekeeping real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Got two things that we kind of need to cover on. As of this episode coming out, we're not sure when that is going to be. We'll be on a short hiatus. Right.
Now, what that means is that you, the listener and viewer, won't really... It means nothing for you. We got this episode, the Victoria episode, which we had some technical difficulty with, but that will be out soon.
It'll be out before this episode, so...
Right.
We'll kind of have an idea on what our time is.
You won't have a lull in content, but we are taking a short break from recording, so that A, we can plan a little bit, and B, I'm moving soon to a new apartment, and school's starting soon, plus I'm working, so I just have a lot on my plate right now, so I just need to really, hammer that out, so,
all of us kind of, need to take a little bit of a step back from the podcast for a while anyway.
Right.
Also, Doomfist is coming out.
And Stukov on here.
Stukov is coming out, and Here's the Storm. There's a lot of games to play, guys.
So you, as the viewer, wouldn't even know we were on a hiatus if we hadn't told you, but we believe in transparency.
Yeah.
So we're telling you.
So we kind of planned for the hiatus to end around the first week of August-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back recording then. Maybe do a live stream because we hit 4,000 subs. So which
yeah.
Thank you guys. It really means a lot from us.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So we'll probably plan something for that. We'll
also
check out Twitter soon for that. Go ahead, Joey.
I don't know the exact date, but we are rounding our 2-year birthday.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Last week
Is it
of
this
August.
month?
August 31st.
August 31st.
Ironically. Which is the first, when Before the Storm episode 1 releases, which is amazing.
That is, yeah, nice.
We timed that really well thanks to my laptop uploading episode 1 for an entire day.
Taking an entire day to load.
Yeah.
Upload.
Literally.
We are also, as of recording now, very, very close to 2,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, which is great.
We are 42 away.
Mm-hmm. We're hitting quite a few milestones. So yeah, we really want to thank everybody who's been there since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
For almost 2 years now, and people who are just stopping by. Yeah. Yeah. I should also say we hit 206 followers on Instagram. That's what it is at right now.
Nice.
Which is something that we kind of started recently. Good. So yeah. We should probably mention the LGBTQ episode.
Yes.
As well. We're going to put that on hold for a while, since we're kind of taking hiatus, kind of trying to get our bearings. As well as Before the Storm is coming out so soon, we didn't really expect anything from E3. But since that happened, we kind of got our hands full trying to plan stuff related to the prequel.
Right. And also, this gives us the opportunity to get a little bit more input. We got some, And we got enough to do an episode, but there's still always more that are welcome. So this gives the opportunity for that. Also, because we were originally planning to record the 15th of July on that, and that just, again, with like what I've got going on in my personal life and all that, I really just don't have the time right now to be able to facilitate that. So because it's not like this episode where we're just going off the cusp and we're, like we want to have like a good structure to it, and we want to make sure that it is done right. So we're pushing that back to possibly early September.
Yep. Mainly because of when we get back from the hiatus, we'll probably be all caught up with the before the storm hype. So we'll mainly be concentrating on that. But we haven't forgot about it. We really want to do it. It's stuff out of our control that we can't really do right now.
Right. Small little things happening in our lives that cause big events to happen down the course of the rest of our life.
You could say those actions had, they had consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else?
Well, I just want to add real quick, if you are still interested in it, we are keeping the lines of submitting, and we still do have some spots open since we're extending. So if that is something that you're interested in joining us on to talk about the just kind of the how Life is Strange kind of helped you realize, your own sexuality, made you feel good about who you were in that regard, is what we're looking for. So if you have something that you would like to talk about with that, you can submit it to us. And we'll continue even up until we do the episode, we'll continue to mention it as well. So we thank you for your patience on that.
Yes. We should also mention that you can submit anonymously if you don't want to come on the air.
Yes.
And mention it, which is, you can, on Life is Strange fans, there's an actual form that you can actually use.
Yes.
Which Chris set up. So thanks a lot, Chris. We kind of mentioned that a couple of episodes ago.
Mm-hmm. And then Sean's Tumblr, actually,
yes,
you can submit to as well.
Which is arcadiabay.tumblr.com.
Arcadia Gay.
Arcadia Gay, yeah, sorry.
We will have those links also
in the description.
Yep.
So, I think that's all the housekeeping we really have, right? Except for we got to mention the Patreon page.
Yes.
Okay, so pretty much we have to we advertise our Patreon page, which you don't have to pledge, but we would really appreciate. It'll be really appreciated.
Yes.
It's mainly just to help fund subscription costs, which is SoundCloud, Adobe, all Adobe platforms like Photoshop and Premiere, which we use for editing, and like announcement images that we kind of want to make on the whim.
Yes.
We aim for about $40. I think that's what we said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Currently we're almost at 20, which is great because any proceeds we make after we hit the $40 will be donated to the Trevor Project.
Yes, and thank you so much to our current patrons.
Mm-hmm.
This is much appreciated. Our only tier is $1.
Yes,
and just because we don't really, we do have a couple people who have donated more than that, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that.
But we don't want to put pressure on anyone,
right,
to do so.
So if you think you can chip in $1 to help us out, keeping the show running, $1 a month, it's greatly appreciated. And even if you can't, we still appreciate you listening to us.
Yep.
And,
okay. I think that's it, right?
Yeah. So coming up, just go over just real quick rundown of what we have coming up. 4K stream next month at some point.
Right.
Yep. 2-year anniversary next month.
2-year anniversary next month. Release of the first episode of Before the Storm. We're hoping to have some cool things planned for that.
Yes.
We have some. Well, I was just saying we have some really cool things in the works if we can pull it, if we can pull the strings and some things that I'm pretty excited about. So
you could say the hiatus is the calm before the storm. I was pushing it there. I really apologize, but yeah,
you made it. You made it work.
So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a busy month for us. So mainly with the hiatus, we'll probably be planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much for given. So yeah, that's what we'll probably be doing. But we will stay active on social media, so you kind of get an idea on where we are with updates and whatnot.
Yep.
So check us out there. In that case, that's it for this episode, right, guys?
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Blackwell Podcast, where we love Life is Strange almost as much as Chloe loves disappointing her parents.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.